Hey everybody, how's it going? Ray here, and this is His Wondrous Outdoors. This is part 3 of Psalm 23. Yesterday we talked about verses 1 through 4, and we showed the relationship between a shepherd and their sheep. Today we're going to be looking at 5 and 6, and the picture's going to change up here now. Now we're going into what would be a host and their relationship to their guest. Okay? We're going to pick up in verse 5, and then we'll talk about 6, and then I'll do a little recap. All right? So, as always, we got our sword, so let's dig in. All right, verse 5. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. All right, so let's dig into verse 5. We'll do it in 3 separate pieces here. So the first part of that verse, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. The Lord doing that is putting you under his protection. That table he's preparing before you is in the presence of your enemies. But they can't do anything to you because you're under his protection. Okay? Now, if you get out from under his protection and you give even a little bit to the enemy, he'll take a lot. Run with it. Your flesh is strong, and your flesh and your spirit are always at war with one another. Okay? That's why it's so important to be in your word, to be seeking the Lord constantly. But anyhow, it says, you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. So we're under his protection. That's awesome. The next part says, you have anointed my head with oil. Okay, yesterday we talked about how a shepherd will put oil on a sheep's head to keep them safe from getting stuck in the thickets, and also for all the bugs that get in their eyes and their nostrils, to keep them from hurting themselves or killing themselves on rocks and stuff like that. Okay, but today it has a different meaning. Another meaning for that part of that verse is a host, if he pours oil, anoints it oil on somebody's head, a guest's head, that means they're an honored guest. That's a traditional thing. So, an honored guest. David is an honored guest at his table. We are all honored guests at the Lord's table because he anoints our heads. Okay? And this goes into the last part of this verse, which is my cup overflows. Okay, let's first go to Psalm 16, verse 5. And it says, the Lord is the portion of my inheritance and my cup. All right, so it says cup in here as well. It's a metaphor for what a host would give a guest to drink. They would give them a cup to drink. Okay, it's something they would give them to drink out of. Now, what David is saying here in Psalm 23 is my cup overflows. To God's children, he gives a cup of blessings. All right, or if you look in Psalm 116, verse 13, let's flip there real quick. Okay, it says, I shall lift up the cup of salvation and call upon the name of the Lord. All right, so in that verse, he's calling that cup salvation. So the cup is blessings and salvation. David said, my cup overflows. Our cup overflows as well. If we even knew how much the Lord loved us a little bit and could see all the things that he does for us. He sent his son to go to the cross for us while we were still sinners. Our cup overflows with blessings and with salvation. All right. All right, let's go. Let's move on. Verse number 6. Surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. All right, first part of this verse. Surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life. That is a promise. That is an awesome thing right there. And even if we wanted to take that verse and go back into what we talked about yesterday with the shepherd and sheep, goodness and loving kindness could be looked at as sheepdogs. Okay, sheepdogs also help with herding the sheep, keeping them together, keeping them going on the right path. Okay, but going back to what we're talking about today, Surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life. All right. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So you could look at it, I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever because goodness and loving kindness follow me all the days of my life. And that is the doing of God the Father. Okay? Because of how much He loves us. Right? If you're a child of God, you're a child of God and He loves you. Goodness and loving kindness will follow you. All right? That doesn't mean you won't have hard times because we've seen in verse 4, right? Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. But it is a promise. Goodness and loving kindness are going to follow us all the days of our lives. We need to seek Him, be very prayerful. All right? And the last part of that verse, another thing, that I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever, that is eternal. That's never ending. How amazing. David starts the psalm as the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, and ends it with, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Awesome. One of my favorite psalms. And let's go back and recap here real quick. All right. These are all the ways that He meets our needs. Verse 2, He makes me lie down in green pastures. That means He gives us contentness. That means He fills us up and we're able to go and lie down in those green pastures. He makes us to do that. Okay? He leads me beside quiet waters. He leads us to rest because we need that as well. There's another need met. Verse 3, He restores my soul. How amazing is that? That a spiritual need. He restores our soul. He guides me in the path of righteousness. And now He's guiding us in the path of righteousness. Remember what that means? Okay? That's security and prosperity. We're prosperous. He guides us in that path of righteousness. But again, it's for His namesake. All right? There's another need met. And even though I walk through the valley in the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for You are with me. That tells us that He doesn't leave us. All right? We don't have to fear because He is with us always. Okay? It says, Your rod and Your staff, they comfort me. His protection and His guidance comforts us. There's another need met. 5, You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. All right, there again, we're under His protection. You have anointed my head with oil. We're an honored guest. We're anointed. He has anointed us. He's anointed our head with that oil, okay? Our cup overflows of blessings, and that is that cup of salvation, not a cup of wrath, all right? If you don't know what the cup of wrath is, you need to get in your word and read about it. Maybe I'll do a little series on that as well, because it's important to understand the difference there and who we are in Him and who He is in us, all right? And only because of Him. And then verse 6, surely goodness and loving kindness will follow me all the days of my life. That need is met as well. And the last thing here is an eternal need met. Okay? Eternal. All right, it says, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Think about that, guys. Read Psalm 23 for yourselves. Get into it. Pray, seek the Lord. Ask the Spirit to reveal to you. It's an amazing thing. But hey, I appreciate you guys joining me in this little mini-series. This is my last night here in Kansas City. I'll be back home in Oklahoma tomorrow evening. I love you guys. Prayer requests, praise reports. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. Thanks. God bless.